Ideas. So if you're at all like me, you come up with 3 to 10 of them a day. How in the world do you keep track of them? How do you not lose your next multi-million-dollar idea while going through and eliminating all the $15 ideas? All right. So I suggest you develop a system to don't lose your epic ideas. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my system, which I realized as I wrote these cards, started off as a weak system. I need to perfect this system, but there's a reason why this system is designed the way it is. And I'll explain that as I get done with it. So the key is you got to put them somewhere, because if you keep them in your brain, how often have you had an idea in the shower that was gone by the time you got out and started putting clothes on? I actually have had times where I've kept a grease pencil in the shower just to be able to record the ideas that happen there. Because one of the things about ideas is they tend to come up when you are least able to write them down. And that's oftentimes because that's when the mind is free to be able to think. And so that's why the ideas come. All right. So the key is, number one, as you write down that idea, you have to write enough detail to remember later on what you were thinking when you came up with that idea. The problem with most times we write down an idea is we write one phrase, we write one sentence, and we look at it afterwards and go, why in the world did I think that was a good idea? I can't even remember what that is. And so one of the keys is to write that enough detail to remember. So in a minute, I'm going to show you one of the things I do for my long-term ideas. And I literally write half a page for each one of those, so that, because I know that I'm not going to come back and be looking at that for months. And so consequently, I've got to be able to record it down in more detail. And then the next thing you need to do is, once you've written them down, you need to review them regularly so that you can then prioritize them and then be able to decide what you're going to work on right now and what you're going to throw away, what you're going to give away, and what you're going to just not work on right now. So let me show you my system. So content ideas. I use a clipboard, because content ideas, I'm going to literally get, so I have this clipboard that I write content ideas for this and blog posts and those things on it. Every day, I'll fill this up in 3 to 5 days with a whole bunch of content ideas. Obviously, I'm not going to use all of them. Some of them are great. Some of them are instant. Absolutely, you got to do that. And so this is purposefully done this way on colored paper, so that it immediately jumps out. It's on a clipboard, so it immediately is easy to find and touch. And I write them down because the process of writing them down cements them a little bit more in my brain, as opposed to typing them or something like that. Okay. And there's scientific research on this that shows written notes do a better job of putting things into your brain than typing notes. All right. The next thing is product ideas. So when I come up with an idea for a new course, a new product, something like that, I record those in a Google Doc. Why do I do that? Number one, that Google Doc is always with me. I can access it on my phone, on my iPad, on my computer. It's always there. And so anytime I come up with a new product idea, the first thing that I ask is it worth opening up the doc to write this down? Which is oftentimes an initial screen. And if it's not worth getting to that doc, then it's certainly not worth writing down in it. And so that way I've got it. It's permanent. It's always there. I can write as much or as little as I want to. And so that it lives in a Google Doc. Now, the highest priority ideas, whether they come up in, usually these are things that happen in the prioritization steps. Those go there. They go up on the whiteboard in those cool stickers. And so those put my highest priority ideas in front of my face, literally, when I look at that wall. And so that's cataloging the highest priority ideas, and I move them around and I decide what I'm working on. So the short-term ideas, like, I really ought to call and schedule that flight. I really ought to do this. Those go into a project management system. Just here's the things I'm working on. So a Trello, an Asana, something like that, which is basically a to-do list kind of thing where you're cataloging those. The problem with to-do lists is the to-do lists alone don't necessarily have all the detail necessary. And to-do lists are not the place to prioritize ideas, to store ideas. Things tend to fall off them. That's why I put them into a project management system. The next thing is long-term ideas. So this is the thing I mentioned. I keep those in a special notebook. So here it is. So I have this notebook. There's half a page to a page on each idea. These are long-term ideas. So here's the thing that I've discovered. I will chase after an idea because it occurs to me. I need to prioritize my ideas and stay on an idea until I bring it to fruition. So what I do with long-term ideas that are really good ideas I really need to pursue, I write them here and then I put them away. So they're out of sight, out of mind, but I know I can turn to this notebook when I run out and get the next one. That's how I stay focused on what I'm doing right now. Is I know the next ideas are there. They're just over there. They're out of sight, they're out of mind, and they're not constantly bothering me, which is what causes me in the past to never get anything done because I'm constantly thinking about the next task. I put it away, but I know it's there. Now, the other key thing is to remember the worst place. So the worst place to store an idea is in your brain. Why? Because that's not the way the brain works. The brain is not designed to take a random idea that just hit you, store it, and retrieve it when you need it. That's not what brains are good for. Don't rely upon that. And then I suggest you also hold a periodic ideas meeting. So once a quarter, once a month, whatever it is, you sit down with this, that, your Google Doc, and you take them all and you say, all right, what's priority? What should I be working on now? Or what are the things I'm going to work on in the next month? And take through and sieve through all those ideas to only keep the epic ideas and have them in front of you. If you don't hold that meeting, you're probably going to chase after ideas that are less than the best. So hold that meeting, even if it's just between you, yourself, and you. Me, myself, and I, whatever it is. Ideally, it's a meeting with a couple of other team members so they can contribute their feelings about those ideas. And so you have to defend that idea as to why it's a good idea. So those are some thoughts about ideas. As I said, it probably would be better if I put them all in a single system. But every time I start doing that, here's what ends up happening. I realize that every time I've done something like one of the time management things where it says take all your ideas, everything you have to do, put it all in one giant document. Well, first off, that document is like 25 pages long. The second thing is that what it does is it takes everything of every priority and puts them all into one document, which means in my brain, they're all of equal priority, which is not true and not right for me. And so what I do is I use those different systems, putting different ideas of different time schedules, of different weight, of different projects in different places. So when I go and I look at the book to figure out what the next big idea is, I'm only looking at big ideas. That's all that's in the universe. When I'm looking for content, all I'm seeing is the content ideas that I've written over the last several weeks. There they are. There's page after page of them. They're good. Some great ideas and some really bad ideas in there, but that's all that's there. It enables me to focus on the ideas that I need for whatever I'm trying to accomplish and not have to reprocess all the other ideas to get to the ones that I need for that particular instance that I'm addressing the ideas. So I'm sure I can do a better job with these systems. I've never actually sat down and thought through all these systems. I ought to do that. But that's the reason why I keep them in multiple places. What's your experience? What works for you? Let me know in the comments. And perhaps it'll help me in my process too. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.